This is Paul Fink, and this is Just Go Live. And we're live everywhere this morning or this afternoon or tonight, depending on where in the world you are listening to us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are talking about isolation. The feeling that entrepreneurs have of being disconnected from the world. And I got to tell you, I've been an entrepreneur for 36 years, and this feeling has been a profound with me, and I didn't even know it. And for many of you, that's the case. You feel this sense of lack of motivation or a decreased productivity, loss of inspiration, and that's really where all of that is being caused by you being separated and isolated from the world. And we're going to talk more and more about that in just a moment. We're welcoming everyone. We do have the chat live all over the place. So absolutely engage with me. And of course, one of the people that's engaged with me is my wife, Deborah, and I love you, baby. And thank you so much for all the support and all the help that you give me every single day to make sure that this feeling of isolation doesn't create a overwhelm, because I've got love and support of my amazing wife. So for all of you, and even with a loving and caring spouse, and even with just amazing people by your side, you can still have this feeling of of hardship, of lack of inspiration, of loneliness, of just, almost what's the point? And I love you more, baby. Of what's the point? You're years and years and years ago. I remember when I first started, and most of us is where it begins. We are solopreneurs in everything that we do, or solopreneurs in everything that we do. We have an idea. We're not working for a corporation, and we're doing our own thing. Well, it starts off with me, myself, and I sitting in a room having an idea, and maybe I'm moving a product or service, or I'm creating a product or service. And I finally bring it to market. Well, all of this is happening in isolation. So every day I wake up and maybe I wake up and go to my desk. Some people get started and they're in, their house, they're in their apartment, they're just getting started, and they don't even have a desk. They're going to sit at their kitchen table, and they have to push all their stuff aside every day to just have a meal at their table, or they eat over their computer every day while they're working. And then that whole feeling of an unending treadmill happens. I remember in the isolation, and I would end up recognizing that all of a sudden it would be days, no, weeks, and sometimes many, many weeks before I had even left the house. I would end up making reasons to go shopping, or making reasons to go to the grocery store, just so I could get out of the house and break the monotony. That's what we're talking about in that isolation. And the biggest challenge is that we do get this feeling of lack of inspiration and lack of motivation, and we don't pinpoint it to isolation. We pinpoint it to, we must not be good enough as an entrepreneur. We must not be inspired. We must not be motivated. And so we look to get solutions to lack of motivation. We look to have solutions to procrastination challenges, maybe even lack of focus, which then gets diagnosed, you must have ADHD. All of these things happen when we're simply isolated from people and looking to do our own thing as entrepreneurs or solopreneurs. So, what is some of the answer? If you're feeling isolated, what do you have to do? Well, I took a page from the corporate world and started taking a look at what happens in the normal sales journey, if you will, or in the normal production of amazing in the corporate world. And when everybody ends up in this plateau of their sales are pretty much flatlined, they're doing incremental growth in their business. What do? They have a big sales event, or they have an annual meeting where they bring in all the management, all the team players, and they discuss where they're going and what they're doing. And one of the things that happens right after that is everybody is inspired, everybody gets excited, and their sales numbers go up. And then they recognized that they needed more than one meeting a year. So then they had biannual meetings. They had a meeting every 6 months. And then they realized that that those were working, that they were developing business for them, and that they were increasing sales. And so then they started having more and more. And over the decades now, we've seen corporations having more and more types of meetings to inspire, to motivate, and to create this collective or this collaboration and this team play with all their different departments and all the different people involved in their corporation, to make sure that people don't feel the same thing that entrepreneurs feel, in that isolation. So it even happens in big corporations. But for an entrepreneur, it's even more challenging because you don't have the people on the outside moving this and creating this magic. One of the things that we've developed is the understanding, and for all of you that don't know, I've got live events going on all the time, and we do these live events about 5-6 times a year, and which means we have an event every couple months. And I got to tell you, I did this for a couple reasons. One is centered around those events. We also have meetings with all our upper level. We have our mastermind meetings. We have our meetings with all our top level peeps. And with that, all of our mastermind members, we all meet together at least once every couple months, which builds a magnitude of energy around everybody because we feel that connectivity. I also did it because I needed it. Because I needed it for my own motivation. I found that if I didn't get out, if I didn't participate in an event, either my own or in somebody else's, where I was engaged with other people with high level inspiration, high level thinking, just in communicating with like-minded people, I would start going a downward cycle in my production and my motivation and my inspiration and everything I was doing. And I would start losing what I would call my edge. And so I learned that I need to, and I find now, if I work at a very high level and I look to vibrate at a high level, and if I'm not engaged with people even every couple weeks, where I'm out and about in an environment with some great, amazing people, if I'm not doing that every couple weeks, I can feel myself moving at a slower pace, not quite cutting it in the same way. So I encourage all of you, whether it's this, and this is a special discount price, so absolutely grab hold. If you're not already coming to the Maverick Success Live, we've got one coming up right around the corner. If you're not already coming, absolutely grab hold of this special link. It is only available here, a special link with a special price. So go ahead and grab hold of that. That feeling of isolation. We're built for connectivity. We're built to have tribes. We're built to create that energy with other humans. So be aware, entrepreneurs, we feel this isolation because most of the time we're working by ourselves, where we don't have our team next to us, especially in this day and age of virtual, especially in this day and age of everybody being isolated with what happens. In addition to that, We also have an unconventional schedule. We're not a 9 to 5, especially as we're working on a national level with different time zones. So that double down on that. So we're constantly engaged with activity, but not necessarily connectivity. There's also that component of an emotional roller coaster. To do what we do, there's a ton of rejection, there's a ton of highs and lows. One minute you're being accepted by a new community or you're engaging with new clients, and another moment you're being rejected by some of your prospective clients and some new communities. And that'll happen. The challenge is, who are you sharing that with? Who are you communicating that with? As the leader, we often are in this dichotomy of, do we share our ups and downs with our team, because then we're demotivating them or motivating them based on how they're inputting this information, how they're receiving it? Do we even share our highs, because then it's a component of bragging or just getting them into this euphoria where it doesn't lead to amazing, it leads to great? Who knows? But we be cautious as a leader of bringing your team on highs and lows along with you. And that's a component. So then who do we share our emotions with? And we end up in this emotional roller coaster. Masterminds. Yes, Deborah. Masterminds are the perfect channel where great minds meet like-minded people, and it's why I run them and why I participate in them nonstop. If you're not in some form of mastermind, if you're not in some form of meeting of the minds of like-minded people and sharing ideas, you're missing the boat. Because here's the thing with masterminds, and I'll double down on what Deborah said, is that with a mastermind, you're meeting with like-minded people. That's the whole point of mastermind. So that it's all people that are vibrating at the similar level that you're vibrating. They're all there to talk about what's next and build and develop and create. And with that, you've got people that truly understand what you're going through, that you can connect with at that level. Most people, one of the things that creates this isolation for entrepreneurs is most of the people around you have jobs. Most of the people around you in your normal communities are doing their thing and not looking to be, build the next greatness. They're not looking to be millionaires. They're just doing their thing in their life. And so when you start talking about that in our normal communities, if you will, people might look at you a little strange. They might even reject you. And so oftentimes we don't engage with the people around us because we recognize that they don't understand what we're going through. As an entrepreneur, it's a different road for most people. It's why we talk about in the Maverick community doing things different, because that's what I've lived for the last 36 years ongoing as an entrepreneur, that I operate differently than most of the people around me. And so in that way, that increases that feeling of isolation. So what do we do to get out of this? Where we're feeling that mental challenge, where we're feeling that decreased productivity, where we're feeling paralyzed in our decision-making process. What do we do about that? One of the easiest and best things to do is to get out. There are meetings in your local community, Chamber of Commerce meetings. There are meetings with networking events. There are meetings with, like my event, it's a 3-day just interactive experience that'll get you with like-minded people and get you out of your day-to-day challenge, get you inspired to keep moving. One of the most interesting things, so in our masterminds, we have people come with questions, their hottest challenging questions for their business. And oftentimes I hear, when I get there, I'll know more about what I want to ask the group, because the unspoken truth of that is that they'll be inspired by the people around them. They'll be inspired to, oh, I recognize what he's saying and I have a question that's kind of related, but it's different and it's more personal with me. And this is what I want to ask about. How come you didn't have that idea a week ago? How come you didn't come up with that question when you were sitting at your desk going, what should I ask the group? What should I ask the group? What should I ask the group? You got inspired by the collective and that happens in a mastermind. You got inspired by the people around you to ask the questions. It's one of the biggest challenges with entrepreneurship is that isolation that decreases our ability to brainstorm, decreases our ability to come up with the great ideas. Because we need that sounding board, because two brains are higher than the collective of the two. And we cannot, Einstein says we cannot solve a challenge with the same brain that created it. We need that influx of connectivity, of inspiration, of connecting the dots that other people have with us. And it's such a huge component. So absolutely, everyone, get together, come hang out, come spend some time with us. One of the things that I am dedicated to do is our events are not me just speaking to the audience, and it isn't a multi-speaker event where a ton of people are training you. It is a focused engagement where we talk about the real challenges that are going on in the entrepreneurial journey, if you will, and what's going on with your journey, specifically in your company, your small business. What's going on if you're a solopreneur and just getting going, and how do you get to the next step? And we have a real communication back and forth all weekend long about what's going on with you and how to move to the next step with inspiration, communication, understanding how to develop both internally as well as external tools and strategies and systems, methodologies. So absolutely, if you haven't already taken a look, go ahead and take a look at Maverick Success Live, the special offer that's there. For everybody else, I just wanted to get on here and connect with everybody so I didn't get isolated, and so that you recognize that chit chat in your head, you're not alone. It happens. The best way to get out of that challenge is to go connect with more people. Connect with people live. There is a difference between virtual and in person. As great as all this is, and as great as all Zoom and all the other streaming systems that we have now available to us, nothing replaces being live with people. Nothing replaces the water cooler chit chat, if you will, hanging out at the late night at the bar, or just spending an extra meal in the early morning or afternoon lunch with a few people that you never would have met, let alone talked to any other way. Nothing replaces that. Go live, go see people in person and watch what happens. We'd love for you to join me on Maverick Success Live with all that we do there. It is a community. It is a tribe. It is a place to connect and do a deep dive over long periods of time. We've been doing this for a while now. Look forward to seeing you there. For everybody else, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me on our Go Live. We do this every single week, and look forward to seeing you next week and beyond. Take care now. Talk to you soon, and connect. Let's avoid the isolation for everybody here. Talk to you soon.